Okay, so I've assembled the B side of the gun to save time. We're going to assemble all of these pieces now, and I'll tell you what else you guys need to look for. When we disassembled the gun, there is an O-ring that sits in here. That O-ring sits behind this piece. Don't do that. This piece has a dowel in it. It can only go on one way. This hole right here lines up with this. And when it's put together correctly, it'll be slightly snug, but the holes line up. So what we want to do is make sure that we have plenty of grease in here before we install our O-ring. I am going to use the O-ring that came out of the gun. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. So we'll get that lubricated. This is going to wind up with a lot of grease in it from you guys greasing the gun. It never hurts to really give this thing a good pack on the first go round. So we have that packed with grease, and take our O-ring. This O-ring sets inside of that. Okay, you want to have grease on these threads, plenty of it. This is where your mixing chamber threads onto. We're going to take our mixing chamber. We're going to install that on here. The mixing chamber does not get tightened. You can make it a little bit snug. Do not tighten this. That's it. If you want to snug it a little bit, you can take a little wrench here, 4.7 millimeter or 3/16, whatever that's right there. Very, very little torque on that. Because it's offset, you're now going to have to rotate this around to line up with this. We are going to put some grease on the mixing chamber before we put this on. And that's all the grease that it will need until after you spray with the gun. So a little bit of grease on the sides. I'm not putting it by the hole. I'm putting it where the side seal is going to contact first. There's no reason to put it by the hole. So you have our mixing chamber greased on the sides. We want to grease it on the top and the bottom. And we want to grease the nose of it lightly. Next thing we're going to grease is these two fasteners that we discussed before. The shoulder of this fastener sits right down into that groove. The other fastener is not going to help you. It is not going to work. These are specific. So make sure that you are not trying to put the wrong fastener in the wrong place. These also, tons of grease. They're clean. So what we can do is we can just put it right in the tube, pull it out, and that's fine. That's enough grease for the other screw. Drop our two fasteners in place. Graco does not supply you with any type of 90-degree socket or any type of leverage enhancing tool. The only thing they give you is this rubber gripped nut driver. That's because that's really all the tighter they want. If you want to put a rag on your hand because you have grease on your hand to get a little more torque on these screws, you can, but there really isn't a need to. So we have our mixing chamber installed. You can see we have some grease here. That's what our side seal is going to come in contact with. We're now going to put the sides of the gun on and discuss what's critical here. So we have a film of grease on here, side seals in, everything's in place, nothing's going to fall out. Same thing here. So the blocks only have threads on one side. So your B-side block has the threads on it. That means it's going to go together like this. These are also doweled. There's your dowel hole. And then there's your dowel. So your B-side's going to go on here. Your A-side is going to sit on here. Before we do that, we're going to do the same thing that we did before. Put a fastener in. Lots of grease. Lots of grease. The most important thing when you are assembling this side is that you are drawing these two pieces together evenly. And the reason that is the spring that's behind your side seal. If you draw this in unevenly, one, you can hurt the O-ring, and two, you're compressing the spring on an angle. That's going to affect it. The spring's going to take a set, and the gun will wind up with an erratic pattern. So gravity's your friend. We dropped all of that stuff through. Now what we're going to do is we want to just turn the screws until we start to feel everything starts to come together. And then we're going to turn the gun so that you guys can see what I mean about drawing it together evenly. All right, nothing's going to fall apart. These two gaps are never going to be perfectly even while you're drawing it together. What you don't want to do is draw one side down a lot harder than the other. So you're going to just monitor your gap as you're putting it together. And you'll know, we're only using fingers here. You'll know when they come together. That's it, they've touched down. So now you're going to give it a good twist. And like I said, you're going to remember that they don't need to be as tight as you think. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to loosen this up. See if I can feel anything not right. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to take this apart, see what's going on here. These sides should come together perfectly. We know that they're assembled correctly. The valves are facing us, but something doesn't feel right. So the whole thing is to be thorough, take it apart, look at it. Maybe I missed something. Everything appears to be correct. It's in the dowel location. Feels like our dowels are engaged. Could also be that I've never observed the gun from this angle before. And that is exactly what it is. There's nothing wrong. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I was seeing and why it tricked me. The reason I thought it wasn't seated was this block is slightly narrower than this. Now we could loosen these up. This is sitting on a dowel too, and try to split that difference. It's not that critical. It's going to seal. Sometimes when you observe something differently, we can see that it's fine. The gap that I'm looking at is this gap right here. We can see that the machine surfaces are touching each other where they're designed to. So I'm satisfied with that. What's that?